Hello, welcome to Local Anesthetic Podcast, the most trusted name in local news. My name is Alex, and joining us, as always, via Skype is Rob. How you doing there, Rob?
Hello, folks. Yeah, I'm not too bad. Not too bad at all.
And this is episode 272?
That's correct.
Is that right?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Wow, 272 now, and we're recording for the Fastidious amongst you on when is it? It's a Thursday. I think it's the 3rd of May, actually.
It's 2nd of May today.
It's the 2nd of May. Oh, I'm leaping ahead of myself. And we're coming up to another bank holiday. When they're all congested, Rob, in May, I've never understood it. Why don't they space them out?
Yeah, I love this time of year. I really do. It's nice because I think for the last maybe 4 weeks, I've only had like 4-day weeks scattered intermittently. So yeah, it's a nice time of year.
Could get used to it, Rob. They often suggest, don't they, that it would actually benefit us in many ways to be working a 4-day week. I doubt it'll ever happen. Not as long as the Tories are in charge, anyway.
No, apparently so. Yeah, apparently they found that because there was a study by the Wellcome Collection or the Wellcome Trust that found that 4-day weeks tend to be more productive.
Yeah, well, it would make sense. Why, wouldn't it? Because you'd come in much more energised and sort of be much more motivated. But never mind. We're drifting, Rob, away from the topic very quickly of
Yes,
local
we are.
news here.
Yeah.
On the subject of news, do you have any news you want to share with the listeners?
Do we need to mention the outcome of the recent? Obviously, we put a request out to the listeners to put together a compilation of your recordings over the last couple of weeks, and we set the deadline as Monday.
Hang on, not my recorder, me playing the recorder.
You playing the recorder? Yes.
These works I've composed on the recorder that I was playing at the end of each episode, and I asked, didn't I, could somebody stitch them together to form into an album? And that would really be, if somebody did that, that would be the statement that they wanted them to continue. So I'm assuming, Rob, we've had many people have done it.
Well, I mean, many might be an exaggeration. So the ultimatum specified that they had until Monday, the 29th of April, and I'm delighted to say we've had no responses.
Well, people have been busy. It's been Easter. Things let's give it a bit more time. We'll give it another week, and then we'll let it lie.
I mean, I think people have been quite emphatic about,
Yeah, no, you can't be emphatic with silence, or maybe you can. Well, let's see, Rob. Any other news?
Any other news? Has anyone been in contact? No, Face is Strange said he enjoyed the episode, the very first episode.
Oh, right. Oh, he did. So, because we sent Face is Strange, I mean, he's the only person in the world to have heard our pilot episode, which we sent him. And why was he deserving of this honour, Rob? What did he do?
That was for his hard work and basically his contributions to put those images together for us. The triptych of images that include the grandmother whose sofa was delayed from Harvey's.
Yeah, maybe now would be the time then to share that pilot episode with. Why don't we pilot episode with our long-time contributors? I think Steve definitely would deserve it. I think Kyber. I think Jack. I think hang on, Craig. I think Shay.
Yeah.
Because I was going Shay, and I wanted to say Shane, and I didn't know why. And I said, no, it's Shay. It is Shay. Of course, it's Shay.
Well, I'll tell you what. Those
Amy
people
as well,
we've mentioned. Yeah. Okay, I will put you on the provisional list. It'll be helpful if you can let me know whether you want it or not. I want to give you the option.
The right of refusal. Basically, why don't we just say now? We'll open it up. Anybody who wants that pilot episode, you can have it.
Yeah, just drop me an email or drop us an email, and we will send it forthwith.
Yeah, it's the genesis of this podcast. This is when Rob he was over at mine one day, and we were having a chat, and we said, wouldn't it be a good idea to start a podcast? And then we had this idea about local news, and we just got the iPhone out, got the copy of the local paper, and luckily there was something in it, and we just went with it. And obviously, it was two guys having a laugh on the recording of an iPhone, but it's interesting to hear the beginnings of it.
I would say, I'm going to put a stipulation on there. You can only request the podcast if you've had a story featured. That's my one stipulation.
Okay, you can only request, if you submit a story in the future and get it submitted, you can have the episode. How about that, Rob?
Yeah, that's fair enough. Yeah.
I think that sounds eminently reasonable. Anyway, I have a bit of news, funnily enough, because, Rob, you sent me the email that Steve had sent us of a kind of Facebook messaging tract between him and Kyber, which was, I have to say, very amusing to read.
Yeah, it was actually the other way around. I mean, I know we often get them confused, and again, I apologise for that. It was actually Kyber who emailed it to us.
Oh, right, sorry, Kyber emailed it to us. Yep. Well, but it was really them doing some real digging into various sort of stories and trying to unearth various things. I just wanted to comment on one of those in particular. But I did notice, Rob, that one of the things that did give me pause for thought when I read their exchange was that they said that, I think one of them noted that we seem to be picking up a lot of our stories recently from the Mirror, and they said that when they see one of these stories in the Metro or the Mirror, they do like to go and try and find the local news version if it exists, because they tend to be purists in that way. And I looked at it and I thought, we have kind of been a bit lazy in that regard. Like we could easily, for some of the, and funnily enough, for some of my stories this week, I have tried to see if there is a local news version, but for lots of them, unfortunately, there isn't. But for some of them, there is, and I do think we need to. It was a wake up call, Rob, to try and return to the purity of what this is about, which is local news stories in local papers. Because recently we have been very reliant on the Mirror, the Metro, and various other, well-known publications, rather than those smaller local newspapers that we used to support. Having said that, local news journalism is very much on the downhill.
Yeah, I agree with that. But I do think that maybe from now on in, we should adopt that policy. If we cannot, so if we do take a picture, because I've got a story from the Mirror today, and I know full well that it's not going to be featured in local news, but I think it's a good strategy. If we can find the story in local news, we will endeavour to do so.
Yeah, well, I think we have to. And we've got to understand, Rob, that there are going to be listeners out there who will be looking to see if it exists. So so I appreciate that from Kyber and Steve. It's made us up our game a bit, really. I want to say that...
Alex, why don't we say, look, if they want to hold us to account, if they want to say, look, you feature the story, we managed to find it, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah, you can do that too. Yeah, we have, like the government of the day, Rob, we must be held to account. We can consider Kyber and Steve the official opposition.
Nice.
There you go. There's a name for your podcast, guys, the official opposition. Can you imagine they just set up a competing local news podcast? But the point is, Rob, one of the things that they said in this tract was about Eagle Heights, and this really did make me laugh. So as you know, Alan Ames, where did Alan Ames go, Rob? Where did he abandon the UK for?
Is it Gambia? Is that right?
It was to set up a safari park, and there was an Eagle Heights Gambia.
Oh my God,
Rob,
really?
Eagle Heights Gambia, and when you go to their TripAdvisor page, it was at Abuko Nature Reserve, Banjul, Gambia. And you can see some reviews here. Really enjoyable day out. Alex and Sam, because Alex was his son, wasn't it? And family are so friendly. They make you feel at ease. Lots of 5-star reviews. But unfortunately, when you go to the TripAdvisor page, Rob, it just says Eagle Heights Gambia, and in block capitals, closed.
Right.
And
really
the most latest review just says attraction is now finished. Due to unforeseen circumstances, Eagle Heights Gambia is now closed. The exact reasons have not been made public yet or unlikely to be disclosed to the public.
Oh my God. Oh, that's amazing.
Isn't it? And then they found this other thing, which was people talking about it on Facebook. It seemed to be a Facebook page called Volunteers in Africa Beware, which I really enjoyed.
Right.
And Julie Carter wrote, don't know if the rumours are true, but Baba and the cheetahs have died and Eagle Heights is shut for the foreseeable future. So basically, some cheetahs died on the Ames watch and they had to close. But it did look like that was actually 3 years ago this place closed. So what Alan Ames has been doing since then, I've always said to you, I think he's like Marlon Brando in Apocalypse Now, Rob. I really do.
I think that's a fair representation.
And I think it would be a great modern day retelling, by the way. What would we call it?
I'm trying to think of a pun on Eagle Heights and Apocalypse, and it's just not coming to me. What I will say is, I don't know how long we've been covering Eagle Heights for a long, long time, and I'm trying to think when Alan went out to Gambia, because surely
it was about 3. I don't think it lasted long. But it sounds like he got there, set it up, had some good times, just like with the other Eagle Heights. Some cheetahs died, probably in mysterious circumstances, and they had to close.
Yeah.
But can I just say that is research right there?
Yeah, I cannot fault that. I mean, they really have taken the effort to try and find out what happened.
Yeah, and if you manage to, I imagine they're on the case trying to, like detective sleuths. Come on, guys, be woodland animal murder detectives or whatever we used to call ourselves. Go out and find what happened to those cheetahs. Because what I want to know, Do you think, Rob, it was a cheater attack and they had to shoot them on sight? It was that kind of thing. They said the fire extinguisher didn't work last time, beating them in the head with the fire extinguisher. We know that doesn't work because it didn't work in Ainsford.
Yep.
But now we will just get out the gun and, a clean shot, Rob.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it just in one shot took the cheater's head clean off. Horrific scenes. But also, as it hasn't actually been publicised about what happened there, it doesn't stop us from wildly speculating until they sue us.
Of course not. Rob, right, my first story, I want to get on with this podcast. Do you remember, Rob, that we have a video up on YouTube of one of our stories from way back when, which was that great story I read about, sort of these conspiracy theories that float around about various animals being used for military purposes?
I think I know what story you're about to mention.
Right, yeah. But do you remember? I can't remember they were hilarious. So go and watch the video. Go to youtube.com, search for lapodcast.net, click on that, look at the videos, and you'll see there's one there about these animals being used for military purposes. And I think there was some evidence, wasn't there, of some dolphin being trained to be a killer and wield a machine gun and all this.
I'm sure it was Mossad apparently were training these dolphins to
yeah. Well, some of them were true. Yeah, some of them were true, and I can't remember which ones were true or not, so I don't want to get into that murky water, Rob. But talking of murky water, this is a story from The Guardian, and I think you do know which one it is then, maybe.
Yeah.
Whale with harness could be Russian weapons, say Norwegian experts.
Yes, I did. This was widely publicised.
Were you going to report this story yourself?
No.
There you go. It's by Hannah Ellis Peterson from the 29th of April. Marine experts in Norway believe they have stumbled upon a white whale that was trained by the Russian Navy as part of a program to use underwater mammals as a special ops force. Fishermen in waters near the small Norwegian fishing village of Inga reported last week that a white beluga whale wearing a strange harness had begun to harass their fishing boats. We were going to put out our nets when we saw a whale swimming between the boats, fisherman John Heston told Norwegian broadcaster NRK. It came over to us, and as it approached, we saw that it had some sort of harness on it. The strange behaviour of the whale, which was actively seeking out the vessels and trying to pull straps and ropes from the sides of the boats, as well as the fact it was wearing a tight harness which seemed to be a camera or weapon, raised suspicions among marine experts that the animal had been given military-grade training by the neighbouring Russia.
I'm sorry.
That's a bit. Why pin the blame on Russia? I don't know.
But also, I've got a few points to make. First of all, I don't know how. Whales are intelligent animals, but I don't know whether you can train them to follow a certain path or a certain trajectory.
You don't know whether you can put them through military grade training. That's what you're saying.
Exactly, yeah. And also, is there a specialist in this field? Has this guy who's ever trained these whales been specially trained by, I don't know, SeaWorld or something? I
believe he's called Dr. Whale Love.
Right.
Which is my play on word for Dr. Strangelove. Not a very good one. But can I just say, Rob, I said that they suspected it was from the neighbouring Russia.
Yeah.
Well, to be fair, inside the harness, which was removed from the whale, were the words, in quotes, equipment of St. Petersburg.
Is that true?
That is true.
Oh,
yes.
okay.
That is in the article. Can I just say that seems like somebody trying to pin something on Russia?
Yeah, it
This
does.
seems to me to be a counterintelligence exercise. Like the US released this whale and they write in it equipment of St. Petersburg to try and make Russia look like they're up to no good. No, this sounds like classic counter. What is it? Counter
espionage.
Black ops, really, Rob.
Yeah, I completely agree. And also, I think you need to question, was it actually in English as well? That's what you need to question. What was the writing in?
That is the question.
And also, can I just ask, what would be the strategic advantage of a whale harassing fishing boats?
Well, that's a good question. The fisherman said the whale was very tame, Rob, and seemed used to human beings. If this whale comes from Russia, and there's great reason to believe it does, then it's not Russian scientists, but rather the Navy that's done this, said Martin Buu of the Institute of Marine Research in Norway. Auden Rikardson, professor of the Department of Arctic and Marine Biology at the Arctic University of Norway, told NRK, "We know that in Russia they've had domestic whales in captivity, and also that some of these have apparently been released. Then they often seek out boats." He said he had contacted Russian researchers who said the harness whale had nothing to do with them. "They tell me it's most likely the Russian Navy." In the 1980s, Soviet Russia, a program saw dolphins, Rob, recruited for military training. I think that's the one we reported on.
Right, okay.
Their razor-sharp vision, stealth and good memory making them effective underwater tools for detecting weapons. So there's a strategic benefit. They can detect weapons, Rob.
But these are fishing boats, Alex. And unless they were disguised as fishing boats.
Well, that's true. it was a recent research and training was done to see if beluga whales could be used to guard entrances to naval bases in Arctic regions and assist deep water divers and, if necessary, kill any strangers who enter their territory.
Wow.
Can you imagine training up a normally placid whale to be a killer, Rob?
Well, personally, no, but I can imagine it could be done. I mean, I think we've all seen Free Willy.
During their research, the Sea Biology Research Institute, Rob, concluded that dolphins and seals were much more suited to the training and Arctic climate than beluga whales. Whales were deemed, Rob, too sensitive to the cold and did not have, in quotes, Rob, the high professionalism of seals, which had a far better memory for remembering oral commands. Can I just say the high professionalism, in quotes, of seals is a very good episode title.
If you hadn't said it, I would have done, yeah.
And interestingly, Rob, related to that, I have heard that Seal, the musician, is a very, very professional artist. Always comes to work on time, always at the recording studio when he says he'll be. Never leaves really anything on the table. Very professional, very reliable.
I mean, you can hear that. I mean, if you listen to his music, I mean, Kiss from a Rose is an instant classic because of the professionalism that oozes from that record.
Yeah, so because you often hear that said about music, don't you? It's a very professional. Rob.
It's like people say about this podcast, Alex.
Yeah, they do. Of course they do.
Can I just?
Now, Rob,
before you move on, can I just? I mean, one of the things I did mention that obviously with the closure of Eagle Heights Gambia, I did say we're going to wildly speculate. Is there a possibility this whale has been trained by Alan Ames?
Oh dear, that really does. No, I don't think he specialises, Rob, in aquatic animals. He does like the land. We know he's got a fondness, Rob, for the cheetah. We know this.
No, but Alex, just bear with me. Can you imagine that? This man apparently leaves the UK to go and set up a wildlife sanctuary in Gambia.
Right.
So that's his cover. When secretly he's been recruited by the equivalent of the KGB. I can't remember what they're called now. The FSP, I think it is.
The Russians.
The Russians. With his knowledge of wild animals, to start recruiting whales and then turning them.
It's funny you say that because it does say, the strap line for Eagle Heights Gambia underneath it does just say a communist sanctuary for animals.
It does say that. So, you're right. Yeah, that's true.
Maybe you're right. Rob, this is from the traitorous Guardian. And they are traitorous, Rob. They're deeply traitorous, as you know. Now, Rob, this is going to be my only other story, really, here. I debated whether to read this out. I think I have to.
Right.
It is very tragic in many ways, Rob, but the detail of this is just astounding. It is probably one of the most astounding stories I've ever read, and I hope you didn't come across it. It's by Stephen Morris, and it was published on the 30th of April, so just a few days ago. Britain jailed over plot to abandon American with dementia in UK.
Sorry, read that again.
Britain jailed over plot to abandon American with dementia in UK.
Right.
Now, this is... So you haven't heard of this story. This is extraordinary, Rob. Right. A con man, Rob, who claimed to be an elite special forces unit, has been jailed for his part in a plot to dump an American pensioner with dementia in rural England so that he would be cared for by the NHS. Rob, this story you're about to hear and the lengths that were gone, the complexity of this plan is absolutely extraordinary.
Okay.
So Simon Hayes, who is British, left Roger Curry, 78, who is American, and we'll get into how all this happened, with medical staff at Hereford, claiming he found him face down in a country lane. Curry, who's the guy with Alzheimer's, smiled and cried as he was abandoned. He had an American accent, but could not explain to nurses or later care home staff who he was or how he had come to be in the UK. Hayes, 53, this is a British guy, was described in court, Rob, as a pathological liar who told, in quotes, a pack of lies about Curry, the American. His actions and false witness statement led detectives on a, in quotes, wild goose chase as they tried to work out where Curry had come from and how he had got to the UK, Worcester Crown Court was told. Simon Davis, I swear we've heard about him before, QC, prosecuting, said Hayes of Taunton, Somerset, was... So this is a British guy.
Right.
He's contacted by a friend in America called Kevin Curry, who is the son of this guy, right?
Okay.
The victim's son, who's living in California. They exchanged a series of texts and calls before Kevin Curry flew with his mother and father, the father with Alzheimer's, to Gatwick on the 5th of November. On the 23rd of November, Kevin Curry and his mother flew to Denmark without the dad. So he's left the dad in the possession of his friend.
So hang on. At the moment, this is coming across
Are you up to
as a
speed so
very,
far?
very heartless son who apparently is just
I
abandoned
think
his
that's
father.
an understatement, Rob. This is evil, no?
Yeah, no, it really is. I mean, so this was. So this, I mean, I don't know whether this is the case, but I get the impression this son apparently is getting increasingly concerned about his father, and maybe his father was inhibiting his lifestyle in California, and he just wanted to live a very, very laid back lifestyle as you would in California. Unfortunately, he had to care for his father, so he set up this elaborate plan to dump his father in the UK, so he no longer had to care for him.
Well, a more generous interpretation would be, Rob, that maybe he could not afford, with the bills, what they are, medical expenses in America, maybe he could not afford for his father's care. His friend said to him, look, over here with the NHS, you'll get that kind of care automatically. So they hatched this elaborate plan.
Okay.
But the dumping of him in the middle of the countryside, like a dog that you don't want, seems vile.
I mean, can I just? He didn't actually leave him face down in a country lane, did he? Please tell me he didn't.
Yes. Right. Yes, that's exactly what happened. Davis told Worcester Crown Court, this is the prosecutor, the defendant was part of a plan to bring Roger from the US and dump him in Hereford, abandoning him so he could receive care from local healthcare providers. It was clearly planned. So, here's what happened, Rob. At 4:20 p.m. on the 5th of November, Guy Fawkes Day no less, Rob, Hayes, dressed in a fake military uniform and putting on a United States accent, took Curry to Hereford bus station near a hospital, telling a nurse and later telling paramedics he had found the man in a country lane. Hayes left Curry with medics, claiming he could not give any contact details because he was, in quotes, working with the SAS at its nearby camp.
I mean,
Davis said Hayes then joined Kevin Curry and his mother. So listen to this, Rob. After he's done this, right, so I just want to go backtrack. We've got Kevin Curry, the son of this man in America who lives in California. He's cooked up this plan with Hayes, right, of Taunton, Somerset, to deposit his father there, and Hayes is going to leave his dad in this countryside near this NHS healthcare trust, right? Guess what they did after he dumped him? All of them went on holiday to France and Copenhagen.
Well, you
Hayes,
would, Alex.
Kevin Curry and his mother.
Yeah,
and the mother of this, France and Copenhagen.
You offload the father. You hope he's being cared for, and so how do you celebrate? You go on holiday to Copenhagen and France. Apparently, that's a strange combination.
Back in Hereford, Rob, the mystery of Curry's identity, he was known as Credenhill Man after the location where he was found, triggered an international police appeal for information, even involving the Federal Bureau of Investigation, otherwise known, Rob, as the FBI, before the truth came out. Police began to suspect he had been deliberately dumped, and suspicion even fell on a medic Hayes had initially spoken to at the bus station. By March 2016, Roger Curry, this is the dad, who not only had Alzheimer's disease, Rob, but also autism, managed to tell nurses his name. Right?
Right.
Inquiries led authorities to ring Kevin Curry's address in Whittier, California, but he claimed when he answered the phone that nobody called Roger lived there. Can you imagine? Hello, Roger. Oh, it's just awful, right? Anyway, then police got a break when Hayes, the Englishman who dumped him, Rob, for reasons that are still a mystery, called West Mercia police and identified himself as the man who handed the victim to medics. But Hayes again lied, Rob, so he didn't come clean. He claimed that he and a Canadian Army serviceman had found Curry and that at the time had been attending a course at the SAS base. Why would you do that? It's almost like the compulsion to lie is so strong, Rob. Rob, isn't this one of the most extraordinary stories we've ever
Surely,
featured?
if he admitted, if he was claiming that he was apparently related to the SAS in some way, surely they would do some background research to see whether that was the case.
Well, yeah, but I think he never gave his name, so I have to remain anonymous.
Yeah, that's true. And can I just say, why was he dressed in an American Army uniform when he dumped the guy in the country
pretending
lane?
he was working and putting on an American accent?
None of this. I mean, the SAS is the headquarters. The SAS headquarters are in Hereford. That's true. But why would you fake the American accent? Just say you're a British man involved in the SAS.
Trying to throw people off the scent. Detectives, Rob, then arrested Hayes, and the prosecutor added, he said that he had been in the special boat service, but was unable to answer a simple question any serviceman would know. What's your service number? You'd think he would at least try and make up a number.
Surely you just make up a number. 2?
Hayes admitted perverting the course of justice, Rob, on a separate case of fraud in relation to a false character reference. So he also tried to provide a false character reference. He was jailed for 2.5 years. The victim, thank God, was cared for by the NHS, while a public appeal and criminal investigation continued at a cost of up to £20,000. He was safely returned to the United States in 2016. Davis said Curry's son is under investigation in the US for elder abuse. Thank God for that. Fraud and kidnapping. Describing the crime as a well-planned deception, the judge, Daniel Pierce Higgins QC, says there was enormous waste of police and public resources because of false information put forward by the defendant. I cannot find any case remotely similar to the facts of this case, curiously, because there appears to be no apparent benefit to the defendant. Like, what? So presumably, initially they must have thought Kevin Curry must have been paying off this guy to do it. But they found no link. They found no possible benefit for this English guy to dump this guy in the countryside. Why was he doing it?
Because he got a free holiday to France and Copenhagen.
Yeah. There's the answer. Okay, Rob, you got a story for us there.
Yeah, so my first story is from the Manchester Evening News. I thought we'd feature a local paper this week. And the story is from the 8th of April, so it goes back a bit. We
always get good stories from Manchester, I feel.
We do, yeah.
My feeling is.
The story is by Charlotte Dobson, and the headline is Battle of the Banners, the bizarre dispute between one woman, her cat, and a building merchant.
There's an episode. Sorry, I'm eating a banana.
Yeah, I saw that. I thought, well, that's inconsiderate.
I thought the headline was going to be longer. I thought I had time.
Also, of all the things to eat, banana's a bad choice because banana's claggy. You know, one of the first rules of podcasting is you should never eat things like bananas, yogurt,
I've never read that.
Chocolate. Well, it's well known in podcasting circles, Alex.
Rob, there was a bit in that I thought could be a headline, but I can't remember it because we were talking about bananas.
Well, I think there probably will be a few more. So,
but what was in the headline? There was a phrase.
So, Battle of the Banners: the bizarre dispute between one woman, her cat, and a building merchant.
That's it.
Bizarre
one woman,
dispute.
her cat, and a building merchant. Yeah. Maybe you can tack that onto whatever I mentioned earlier. I think they could go quite well together, but I can't remember.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. So, a banner bemoaning the impact of a building merchant's yard on a depressed cat has appeared outside her house in Sale.
An article. Read that phrase. An article bemoaning or whatever it was.
A banner bemoaning the impact of a building merchant's yard on a depressed cat has appeared
There's the
outside
episode
title.
What a beautiful use of language.
A banner bemoaning the impact of a building merchant's yard on a depressed cat.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I like that.
The bizarre slogan claiming Travis Perkins depressed my cat was draped outside a resident's house on Elm Grove. Wendy Snell ordered the banner after the building merchants Travis Perkins hung a huge sign at the entrance to their yard on Thursday, claiming it ruined her view.
Right.
Wendy said there was an ongoing dispute between her and the depot over its signage, describing the firm's latest banner as the final straw.
Sorry. So where is the banner?
So her house is directly next door to a building merchant's, and the building merchant's kind of juts out, and the banner is directly at the front of her banner. The banner is the corner of the building merchant, so then it blocks her view down the road.
What, a bit of it flaps over her window, does it?
No. It kind of, so they've got like so the boundary of the building merchants is basically overlaps.
Extends over.
Exactly.
It's sort of, her house is more shallow than that, so because it sticks out,
so
she can't look at an angle down the road.
Yeah, which is strange because looking at this picture, there's not an awful lot to see unless she really likes pylons.
Right. Well, I like pylons. I actually do like pylons. Electric pylons.
I mean,
are you talking about the old telegraph poles? Or are you talking about massive electric pylons?
No, I'm talking about the massive electric pylons.
I like those, Rob.
Oh,
do you know that? That's true? I really do.
I have to say, there's something about the symmetry of them is quite aesthetically pleasing.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you actually off air if you wanted to do a podcast about pylons, the Pylon podcast.
Only if we can include cooling towers as well.
There we go. We're ready to go.
Pylons and cooling towers, bloody hell. That's a niche podcast that people would listen to. Right, so she claims her cat Wilf is depressed as a result of the Travis Perkins site.
I'm assuming Wilf is short for Wilfred.
Yeah, I would assume so, yeah.
Right.
Yet bosses at Travis Perkins say they have worked with residents regarding their concerns about the site for years. Wendy, 44, said Travis Perkins went and put up a sign right outside my front door. You can see on the pictures how it's ruined my view, and on the top of that, there's racking everywhere.
Rob, I've got to be honest. I've got to see this. I really am struggling to understand what's going on. Right, tell me the headline again.
I think. Well, look for the pertinent details. So I think if you just put
Travis
depressed cat, Travis Perkins
depressed cat
banner.
will do.
Yeah.
Here we go. Right, I've got the Daily Mail version.
Okay.
No, I don't want to click on a Towie article by accident, but it happens.
Of course you do, Alex.
Sorry, it's on the outside of. They've stuck it outside her. They've stuck it on her house, Rob.
What are you talking about?
The banner. It's above her front door. Oh, that's her banner.
That's her
Travis
banner.
Perkins depressed her cat. So what's she complaining about? Oh, I see that. Right. Okay. So basically,
can you see
what's
that?
the
Can you see the
problem?
banner saying mega trade opening?
Oh, right. I see. Yeah, but it's on their site. I mean, it's just the law that's on their site. I mean, it's not outside her front door.
But Alex, this is the final straw.
Oh, I see. Like, that's her gate, and as soon as you come out, it says mega trade opening. Yes, it is a bit, but I mean, they're a business. If you buy a house next to what are they again? A building merchants. I mean,
yeah.
it's not going to be the best experience.
No,
you're going to hear a lot of clanging. There's going to be a lot of people driving in to use the car park. I mean, it's not going to be great.
Yeah, people banging day and night. But
the cat doesn't look depressed to me. I say that right now.
Well, I mean, it goes into more detail. So Wendy, 44, said Travis Perkins went and put up a sign right outside my front door. You can see on the pictures it ruined my view. And on top of that, there's racking everywhere. But then on Thursday, put up this banner saying now open. I was fuming. And that's when I decided to put up my own banner. So as you've already said, the banner says...
Do you think they care?
No, not in the slightest. I don't think they give a shit. As she said, yeah... the banner says Travis Perkins depressed my cat.
And has a picture of the cat on it, by the way.
Yeah, it's a very pretty cat. Wendy, a business support manager, said her latest move was a tongue-in-cheek message to the building merchants. It was a peaceful process, said Wendy. My cat Wilf doesn't get to hunt anymore. He used to go straight out onto the River Mersey, but now he can't.
Where is this? Manchester?
Yeah, on Sale.
I didn't know the Mersey flowed through Manchester.
No, I can't say I did either. I also don't understand why the cat was hunting on the River Mersey. I mean, seems like a strange thing to say.
I think if she wanted more, Rob, I think if she wanted more publicity, her sign should have simply said, Travis Perkins depressed my pussy.
Yeah.
Or upset my pussy, something like that. That I think would have garnered more attention.
Yeah. She did go on to say, I do think he is depressed. It's not a big issue, but as a street we have continuously complained, the sign was the last straw, hence my banner.
Right, look, I need more about this. I understand this story being about a woman who's upset and depressed about her view being blocked. Why is she dragging the cat into this? You're not mentioning it. She hasn't said anything, even anecdotal, like he used to go out and hunt and now he doesn't.
Yeah. That
maybe he was scared off when he went to the River Mersey by I don't know, something that was in there. Maybe he came across a military grade trained whale.
Absolutely,
and ran home.
Yeah,
maybe he's staying at home more because he senses that she's anxious and upset.
Maybe that's it. Yeah, maybe he's obviously picked up on something and that she's anxious about the building merchants, and so he wants to stay in and comfort her. You're absolutely right, Alex.
Yeah, maybe Travis Perkins. Maybe it could be an ongoing battle. They put up a big banner saying, "No, you depressed your cat. Get over it.
You need to deal with your own issues, love."
Yeah, that kind of thing.
Yeah, until
it escalates, Rob, into full-blown war.
Yeah, exactly. And to be fair, let's face it, Travis Perkins are going to win because they have a lot more weapons.
Yeah, well, not technically weapons, but they have a lot more industrial equipment to manufacture into weapons, Rob.
Alex, a weapon.
They must have a
anything,
bulldozer.
Is that right? Yeah, well, I think
a digger.
If not a fork, I think they've got a forklift. And as we know, if you're going back to that story, the chap who destroyed that, it wasn't a forklift, though, was it? It was, as you rightly say, it's a digger. But I think you could do a lot of damage with a forklift.
I think so too.
So my second story is from the Daily Mirror, because you've already mentioned we have to cover it at least once a week, which we will try and cut down on from now on. As I said, this is a very, very bizarre story, and as soon as I read the headline, you'll understand why I don't think it featured in local news. It's from the 19th of April. It's by Shivali Best. Good name.
Great name.
Are you ready for this headline?
I am.
Foot fetish. Foot fetish. Foot fetish. Why can I not say that word?
Rob, are you all right? You having a stroke, Rob?
Possibly. I'm getting too excited about the story. Foot fetish fans can now buy silicone feet with built-in vaginas to simulate foot sex.
What? But feet don't have vaginas.
These ones do.
Right, but that really isn't a foot fetish, is it? It's like I have a weird fetish about a vagina being merged with a foot. Do you need to read any more of this story? Isn't that it?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think people like to know, Alex.
Okay.
And also, can I just say, I really think you should look at these. Be very careful what you're typing into Google.
What am I typing in? Foot fetish vagina?
Yeah.
There we go. There's a sex... Oh, that's a 2015. Okay, foot fetish. Here we go. I've got the mirror. Oh, my dear God. So basically, if you imagine a pair of severed feet that have been severed just above the ankle,
yep.
Where that severing has taken place, there is basically a vagina. So the idea, or what's the word? An artificial vagina. So once one's member was encased in said artificial enclosure, you would basically have a foot just sticking out of your dick. So you can look at the foot while you pleasure yourself. It's absolutely grotesque. I have to say they're not the most attractive feet in the world either, in my estimation. Oh my God! I'm now seeing the Rob, there is something seriously disturbed about that. Yeah. No comments on that
You're
story.
okay there, right?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Okay, so from BDSM,
it's also that you get a pair of them. What are you going to do with two of them?
Take it in turns. Invite a mate round.
Rob. Maybe Travis Perkins should send these feet to that woman to cheer her up.
I mean,
we're sorry for what's happened. As a gesture of goodwill, have two
vagina feet.
Vagina feet. Good luck in the future.
Yeah,
one for you, one for the cat.
Can I just say, if you came home and caught
I'm pleased
your
you said
partner,
home there. I'm pleased you put home at the end of that sentence, yeah?
Oh, yeah. If you came home and caught your partner in flagrante with what is clearly a severed foot with a vagina inside, is there any explanation to get you out of that situation?
Well, the explanation is I've got a crazy foot fetish and an idea that wouldn't it be great if feet were... It's the fact they're severed, which is so creepy. It looks like you've got a fetish for severed limbs.
Yeah. So I'm just it's only a short story, but I'm just going to read some bits and pieces. So from BDSM to threesomes, many people have fetishes that they love to fulfill. Now, a sex robot firm is helping people with foot fetishes to achieve their fantasies. Silicon Wives has launched silicon sex robot feet with built-in vaginas, which allow people to simulate foot sex. Does that mean that they are robots?
Can I say it doesn't simulate? Surely foot sex is. I don't want to get too graphic here, but if you imagine hands pleasuring somebody, it's like feet pleasuring somebody. It's not. That's not the same as what they've made. Why didn't they just make the feet as they were without the vaginas at the end, so you could use them to pleasure yourself?
But I suppose I suppose you can caress the toe. I don't know. I mean, it's not something that particularly turns me on, but I'm guessing you could caress the toes as you're also pleasuring yourself.
Or do, what is it? This little piggy went to market.
Again, that adds another dimension which I'm really not prepared to go into.
Yeah.
Silicon Wise explains the realistic silicon feet with vaginas are perfect for feet lovers out there that still want a traditional sex toy experience. The product is handcrafted with premium medical grade silicon to provide an ultra realistic sex experience. The feet are highly detailed to look like and feel like just like real feet. I know you've got.
Can I just say, Rob, I have genuinely been worried about this for a while. Not the foot thing, but that we are moving into an era in the next couple of decades where, you know, they will be able to make very realistic artificial people. I mean, we've already seen those sex dolls that exist, but I'm talking like robots, stuff like that, and it will destroy relationships. It will absolutely destroy the concept of a family, and it will destroy our birth rate, and it could be the beginning of the end of our extinction if climate change doesn't get there first, or antibiotic resistance, or whatever other countries are up to, which is not that great.
Maybe if that is the case, then maybe the this is the ultimate irony that these dolls brought about the end of civilization. It could be
rather like the Terminator. Yeah, we'll end up trying to create ourselves, and what we end up creating will end up be our undoing. I think that's probably quite inevitable. I am genuinely terrified, Rob, considering our age, what we're going to live through over the next however many decades. It is really worrying, especially as I was reading today about this whole 5G thing is actually incredibly concerning.
Yes.
Because this 5G revolution that's going to happen is going to mean that, for example, you would be able to download 1,000 movies like in a second. It's that kind of speed. But what it will mean is that these kind of masts will be basically on every block. Yeah, if you imagine it like that way, they will be everywhere. Everything will be connected, from your toaster, your fridge, everything. But what it means is the ability for massive, because China have been using 5G in some places, and they're using it for advanced face recognition, so they can spot you wherever you are, what you're doing. I don't know if you know now in China that you get these social credit points. So if you behave well, and if you don't download things you shouldn't, and if you don't leave comments you shouldn't, you get credits and points to your name, which then allow you certain privileges. And anybody who speaks out against the government or downloads something they shouldn't, they lose points. And not only they lose points, their whole family loses points. So if you say something that's the government don't like, you, Sarah, maybe me, we'd all get docked down this. It really is terrifying. That's different than the 5G thing. But what I'm saying is that it's incredibly worrying, because we're setting up an apparatus which would allow complete dictatorial control of the populace. Why would you do that? And do you know what they called it as well in China? Bizarrely, this whole apparatus, Skynet. They actually fucking called it Skynet, which is the name of the fucking company organisation in the Terminator. Why the hell would you do that? Unless you're trying to be very obvious about it.
Yeah, and unless you really had a sense of humour about your authoritarian techniques.
Leanings, yeah. It is really worrying. I mean, this stuff doesn't keep me up at night, but I think if I allowed it to, it really would.
Just on a well, not a tangent, but going back to what you say, if you actually want to see a sex doll, by the way, Alex, if you keep scrolling down that article, you can see a very well endowed one. And a man
saw it already.
Shorts. Okay.
I think that's when I was slightly distracted, Rob.
Yeah, that's fair enough. If anyone is interested in purchasing a pair of these feet, they are £153.
What? That's a very odd number. £153.
They're $199.
It doesn't even divide equally. Huh?
They're $199. They've just converted.
Okay, so basically the equivalent of $100 each per foot. I'm not really sure that's worth it.
No, but again, it's another worrying indictment about the state of our planet, that people seem to really be quite keen on these, because apparently the customer reviews are very positive.
Bloody hell. Okay, Rob, look, I need something to take my mind off all this. So hopefully it will, because it's time, Rob, for our listener story of the week, Rob. And I think you told me at the beginning, am I right? Isn't it from Jack?
It is from Jack, yeah. So I've just seen that there's even more pictures of sex dolls. Anyway, yes, it is from Jack. It's from the one and only...
Come on!
Tokyo Reporter. Which obviously
deals
is used
in
on crime, politics.
Yeah, go on, read out his strapline.
Well, it's changed.
Oh, because it used to say we deal in like salacious Japanese news, wasn't it?
Yeah, now quite depressingly, now it's just news on crime, politics, business from Japan.
Yeah, but Rob, it is it's like the National Enquirer in Japan. I mean, they really do go to town in the Tokyo Reporter. I would like to work for the Tokyo Reporter, I think.
Yeah, I think it'd be an entertaining paper to work for. I mean, if you're not dealing with stories on crime, politics, and business, then you are apparently selecting the businesses that promote hentai and female escorts. So. Because again, there's a lot of adverts.
So is Jack isn't even there anymore, is it? He just happens to like to read this paper.
Yeah, he's in Europe at the moment. I think he's in Italy, I think he said.
Yeah.
So the story is from the 22nd of March by the Tokyo Reporter staff. And the headline, Japanese official during drunk rampage at Seoul. Is that right? I can't... Is it Seoul? Seoul in South Korea? Seoul. So, Japanese official during drunk rampage at Seoul Airport shouted, "I hate Koreans."
Right. Okay, go on then.
Japanese government apologised after police in Seoul temporarily detained a Japanese government official for allegedly assaulting an airline employee as part of a drunken rampage earlier this week, reports Fuji News Network. On Tuesday... okay.
This is a Japanese guy who's gone on a drunken rampage.
This is a member of the Japanese government even,
Whoa.
who's gone on a drunken rampage in Seoul Airport. So on Tuesday, Kusuke Takeda, or Takeda even, a 47-year-old official of the Ministry of Health, Labour and Welfare, again, that's a broad remit.
But it's quite ironic that this happened, considering his remit.
True. Allegedly assaulted a worker at Gimbo International Airport. He also yelled in English, "I hate Koreans, I hate Koreans."
Well, that's going to do wonders for the diplomatic relationships between Japan and South Korea, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. So, in footage posted online by the South Korean broadcaster JTBC, Takeda is shown stumbling around in front of a boarding desk and taking swings at the face of a male employee who tried to restrain him.
Is he pissed?
Takeda, well, he claims he's not, but apparently I think he is.
He claims he's not. I'd be claiming I was. I mean, why would you not want to at least say that you were acting, in a way that you wouldn't normally? Why would you say, no, I wasn't pissed. I meant it.
Yeah, because if you're soberly claiming you were just walking around the airport shouting "I hate Koreans," that paints you in an even worse light, surely.
I would think so, Rob.
At one point, Takeda appears to kick the employee in the groin area. After the employee pulled Takeda's arm, he slumped into a seat at the gate.
Do we know what
According
triggered
to airport
this?
Officials, alcohol, I think.
No, but there must have been more to it. I mean, he must have. Okay, I'll listen, but he must have had something to say for himself.
No, well, it doesn't mention what triggered this particular incident. However, the incident was the second involving Takeda during his trip. 2 days before, he was not allowed to board another flight after he was found to be drunk and disorderly. During the incident, he pushed a Japanese airline staff member in the face. Police later confirmed.
Okay, so he's got an alcohol problem.
Yeah, I think he may have. Takeda returned to Japan on Tuesday. When contacted on Wednesday by the ministry, when contacted on Wednesday, the ministry said that Takeda went to South Korea on a personal visit, which began on March 16th. The ministry also confirmed that he took Wednesday off. It is indeed regrettable that an official has caused trouble overseas. A representative of the ministry was quoted in apologising. We continue to investigate the facts of the matter.
Surely you'd have to sack him immediately.
No, just investigate it.
If one of our ministers went on holiday to Scotland and walked around the towns and airport beating up staff, shouting "I hate Scots," they'd be sacked. One would hope.
Again, you would hope. So also on Tuesday, Takeda posted on Facebook about the incident, saying that he did not know why he was apprehended. "I was beaten and injured. I was restrained and held by 5 people. It's a strange country," he wrote.
Right, well, a real change of heart there then. Right, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so this man's basically racist.
Possibly.
Or xenophobic.
However, he acknowledged being disorderly. He also admitted to making the derogatory statement about Koreans, but added it was not politically motivated. Which is good to know.
This is the worst apology in the world.
Yeah.
Just shut up, man.
Yeah, just stop talking. Yeah, that's it.
Thank you, Jack. Another very... Yeah, I mean, I do appreciate Jack keeping us abreast of stories in the Tokyo Reporter. I do appreciate that. And as we said earlier, look, anybody who's contributed a story to this podcast, and we mean anybody, so we're talking about... Oh, what was the name of that guy? Parker from Virginia.
Yeah,
anybody who submitted... I'm really plucking out names there. Anybody who's even submitted a story historically, you now have access. We will send you the pilot episode that Rob and I recorded, 6 years ago or whatever it is, Rob. 6 years ago?
7 years ago.
More.
Yeah, 7.
7 years ago. My God. And I can still remember it, which is good in one way, but bad in another, because it's making me very unsettled. Anybody who wants that, but you have to have submitted a story and had it featured. That's the key bit, isn't it, Rob?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And equally, if you submit a story in the future and you get it featured, you will get the pilot episode. I remember a bit of it in particular that I would describe as very funny, and I think it's worth people listening to. But especially as you can hear us, Rob, in our younger days, carefree.
Yeah, before the world took a strange right turn and then started to fall apart.
Yeah, exactly. Hopeful, youthful, optimistic people, Rob. And now we're just cynical, twisted,
bitter old men.
Husks of who we were.
Yeah.
And on that note, we bring this episode of LA Podcast to a close, Rob, and we look forward, as we always do, with a mixture of eager anticipation, yet some degree of trepidation, to our next episode, which will be episode 273, Rob?
Yeah, 273, that's right.
As we move ever more forward like a man arranging with an American friend of his to dump his father in the middle of the English countryside, dressing up in a soldier's uniform, putting on an American accent, claiming to be part of special forces, and after dumping said man, swiftly going on holiday to France and also taking Copenhagen as part of that trip. Just like that, we move ever more forward, Rob, to our next episode, which will be episode 273, as I say. And look, we can be found on our website. It's lapodcast.net. From there, you can download for free all of the previous episodes. And you'll also see there's a donate button in the top right-hand corner. Rob and I, look, obviously we both work full-time. We both use our sort of free time to do this. And there are costs involved. We have to pay to get it hosted, everything else. So if you feel like donating to this podcast, whether it's a monthly donation you want to set up or just a one-time donation, Rob and I would really appreciate that, because basically anything you give us does go into the running of this podcast. It's how we got our mics, wasn't it, Rob?
It was indeed, yeah. Yeah, it was.
And everything like that. So if you want to do that, please do. We'd really appreciate it. You just do it via PayPal. Also, I want to say that, of course, you can get all of the episodes on your podcast app, whatever you use, whether it be apps like Overcast or whether you use the Apple Podcast app. Go on there, subscribe. That's a really important thing. But also leave us a review. If you kind of can be generous enough with your time to do that, we'd really appreciate it. We're on YouTube at youtube.com. I think all the episodes are now just automatically uploading on there now, Rob.
Yes, so
if that's your preferred choice of listening to things. We're on Spotify. We're everywhere, Rob.
We are indeed.
And we're on Twitter at LA Podcast and Facebook at facebook.com/LA Podcast. So you're sitting there right now, you've heard this, you're thinking, I've just found a great story in my local paper. I'd love these guys to feature it. Well, you can tweet it to us, post it on Facebook, or email us. We love getting your emails the good old-fashioned way at lapodcast.net@gmail.com. That is lapodcast.net@gmail.com. Oh, Rob, I've rather enjoyed that this week, I must say, mate. It's like hiatus between last episode and this one because we had quite a bit going on. But it's for once, Rob, I've been pleasantly pleased to see your face and hear your voice.
Thanks.
I think also, Rob, it's been a blessing in disguise what happened with this whole blow my recorder thing, because it's really taken the weight off me. I've managed to put the recorder down and say, you know what, I'm leaving that part of my life behind, and it's been a huge weight off my shoulders. And I know obviously it'll be difficult for someone like you who really appreciated everything I was doing, but I hope it's a weight off your shoulders too, vicariously.
So, just to clarify, we're not extending that deadline then?
Well, yes, but at the same time, me being a professional recorder player, that chapter of my life is over.
Right. Okay. Great.
Thanks for listening, everybody. We'll see you next week for more local anaesthetic news. God bless.
And keep it local.